All right, hey, so my name is Brian, and I'm an accountant, I'm a CPA, and I do some teaching. And I have students that I teach, and I've decided to make this video to help them. But I'm also just going to share it in the event that there's others out there that this might benefit, okay? So this would be appropriate for anyone in a financial accounting class, and I'm going to take you through the basic accounting equation and the way I like to teach it, which is very similar to how other people do it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and fire up my iPad here. Cool. So the basic accounting equation. So if you're in an accounting class, you need to know this, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and write it. You guys can write this at home, or maybe you've even heard this in one of your classes, and that's why you're reaching out for help. So the equation is assets equals liabilities plus equity, okay? You have to remember that, and it's very important that you understand the equal sign as well as the plus sign, right? Plus sign probably even not, but there's two sides to this equation. There's the left side, which is assets, and then there's the right side with liabilities and equity, okay? Now the first thing, this equation always has to balance. Always. Has to, okay? So I'm going to give you my definition of each of these pieces, okay? And then I'm going to do a second video that goes a little bit deeper. So let me go ahead and change the color just so we're on the same page. So assets, I am going to define as future material benefit, okay? So what I mean by that is future, obviously pretty self-explanatory. That means in the future. Now that could be a day, a week, a year. You're going to see where we got to be a little careful how we think through this, but future means future, okay? Material means it matters. It's important. It's significant, okay? And benefit is benefit. So when we talk about an asset is anything that has future material benefit. Something that will provide a significant level of benefit at some point in the future. Okay, that's an asset. Now, I'm going to do liabilities. Liabilities is O. Right? Now, you'll hear other words out there. You'll hear debt and you'll hear obligations. Okay, now these are kind of my definitions. If you're pulling out a textbook, you're going to probably see a little fancier definition. But a liability is something that is owed. Now, it's very important when we think about liabilities that you think about what side of the deal you're on, right? So if I owe you money, I have a liability. If I owe you, I have a liability. You have an asset. You have a future material benefit. What's the future material benefit? Well, if I owe you at some point in the future, you're going to get paid. Okay. So now let's go to equity. And equity, I'm just going to call it what's left over, or the difference. Okay? Equity is the difference between assets and liabilities. If you have stuff with future benefit and you subtract off what you owe, the difference is left over. Okay? Now just a couple review things before I'm going to end this video and do another one that I'm going to go deeper into what equity is. But so first thing, if I was giving you numbers and I said assets are $100, liabilities are 10, if I said, well, what does equity have to be? Well, we know the equation has to balance. This side has to equal the right side. 100 has to equal 100. So when we talk about that, the difference, the equity, is 90 in my little pretend quick example there. Okay? So this is the basic accounting equation. If you're in an accounting class, you need to fall in love with this because it's that important, especially a financial accounting. If you're in tax or management accounting, I wouldn't stress as much. Still important, but that's what we got. Now, one last thing when we talk about equity is you'll also, in the context of the basic accounting equation, this is the book value. Right? It's the difference between assets and liabilities, which is the books. These are the books. Okay, now we can put these concepts into current value or fair value or real life, right? Like maybe you have an asset that you value today and you subtract off. And then we get outside of that. So I'm talking in a financial accounting context, book value. Okay? So just to wrap this up, an asset is future material benefit. A liability is something that's owed. Equity is the difference. The key takeaway of this equation, it has to balance. Now as I end this, I will tell you some people will get a little bit fun with their math and they'll move stuff around, right? So what I mean by that is they'll do something like assets minus liabilities equal, oop, I missed the E, sorry guys, equity. And that's true. All we did was we moved the liabilities over, right? If you remember like a pre-algebra type class, subtract the liability, it would have to go the other side. Okay, so don't get tricked by the equation. You may see it in different forms, but you know, this is kind of the OG or the original. That's the legit equation. Assets equals liabilities plus equity. Okay? I hope this is helpful, at least to my students and maybe some other people out there. Okay? Check out the next video where I'm going to go a little deeper into the equity section, and we'll start talking about how we record transactions. Okay? Thanks, guys.